I couldn't find Janet. Did you check the lighthouse yet?
No. Someone jammed the door handle with a metal wire. I think Janet might be inside.
And in danger. We need to get there right now.
I'm working on it.
Janet!
Carla? Reuben? I...
Carla, we need to cut Janet loose.
Leave it to me.
I'm so happy you're okay. I was worried sick. Who did this to you?
I don't know. Everything happened so fast.
Maybe you can take us through it step by step. Why did you go into the jungle by yourself?
I came here not long after I caught Reuben rummaging through my room. I just couldn't bear being shut up inside those four walls anymore. So I went for a walk. While I was out here, someone snuck up behind me and knocked me out. Next thing I know, I wake up, tied up.
You probably need to be examined. You might have a concussion. I'll text Catherine and tell her to be ready.
Before we go back, Janet, mind if I ask you a few more questions?
Of course. I'll help any way I can.
Any idea why someone would do this to you?
I really have no clue.
Maybe something happened during the day?
Well, I ran into Margot and gave her a piece of my mind for sleeping with Jax.
That can't have been much fun. How did it go?
I mean, she basically apologized for her actions, and that was it. It didn't really escalate any further.
The most important thing is that you're alive and safe. I've contacted Catherine, so let's head back to the mansion and get you checked over.
Okay.
Catherine, could you start examining Janet?
I'm on it.
Mind explaining what exactly happened out there?
We found Janet tied up in the lighthouse. Someone attacked her.
Monsieur? Oh my.
No need to worry. Janet's gonna be fine after a good night's rest.
Thank you. Janet's attacker is probably the same person who stole all the files on Project Genetic. The one who murdered Freddy and Portia. Whoever it is, they're still here among us. We gathered all of you here to get to the bottom of this once and for all. No one will leave this place until the culprit is identified.
Damn straight. Now why don't we get started?
Right. As you all know, I've been looking into all the incidents and murders that took place during our stay here. From the clues I've gathered, I believe I'm very close to uncovering the culprit's identity. I'm certain that once I've gone through all the evidence one more time, we'll be able to determine the culprit.
Let's begin with Lucas's death, then.
Sure. At first, we thought Lucas slipped and fell by accident. But that wasn't the case. From the state of his body, it seemed that he had been in a fight before he died.
If I remember correctly, we found out his knuckles were freshly bruised.
That's right. We also noticed Lucas's suit was ripped. By that point, I was already suspecting Freddy was involved. I found one of Freddy's pins by the pool. Besides, he had a bad limp around that time too, but there was no real proof. Since the
Except that in one of the remaining frames, I noticed Lucas was talking to someone. So, I questioned Mrs. Bird about it afterward. She was the first to find the body after all.
Could you tell everyone what you talked about?
Mrs. Bird told me she escorted Freddy to his room.
Yes. And then I went to finish tidying the Starship suite.
Thanks to the Admiral's chat with Mrs. B, I ended up questioning Freddy later. Freddy claimed he saw Q fighting with Lucas by the pool. So, we checked the greenhouse security footage during the time of the incident. Q was there. He couldn't have done it.
That's the moment we realized Freddy was lying through his teeth.
We went to confront Freddy in his room, fighting with Lucas by the pool. So, we checked the greenhouse security footage during the time of the incident. Q was there.
That's the moment we realized Freddy was lying through his teeth.
We went to confront Freddy in his room. Instead, we found his notebook, which confirmed our suspicions. Freddy had murdered Lucas.
That's when we all split up into teams and went to search for Freddy.
We found him, lying dead at the bottom of the well in the abandoned house. But his death was no accident.
Dear, how can you be certain it wasn't an accident?
The well's lid was barred by a steel pipe. Someone wanted to make sure Freddy couldn't get out in case he survived the fall. There's also another very important piece of the puzzle. I believe Freddy was being blackmailed and manipulated by someone in this room.
And what did they use to blackmail Freddy with?
The camera footage of Lucas's death, which we thought had been deleted. In the heat of the fight, Freddy accidentally pushed Lucas. Lucas tripped and fell backward, hitting his head on the corner of the pool. And you know the rest. I believe the culprit used this footage to their advantage by transferring it onto a USB key before they deleted it from the system. They probably approached Freddy after that. I think they blackmailed Freddy using the footage, making him their puppet.
It's an interesting theory, Ms. Page. But where's the proof? Where's the USB key?
Carla gave it to me before. I can confirm the USB key is real.
Fine, but the USB key with the security footage didn't appear out of thin air. Where did you find it?
In Jax's suite. I know that doesn't look good for Jax, but I think it was planted there.
On what basis?
The USB key was lying on the floor, partially hidden, as if it was lost. But I don't believe the culprit would be careless enough to lose something so important.
It does sound suspicious, I'll give you that. All right, so if Freddy was being manipulated, what exactly did he have to do for the culprit?
I'm sure that Freddy was made to scout out the lighthouse to find the best vantage point. I found a torn map showing the way to the lighthouse in his room.
He tried to get rid of the map?
He ripped it up and tried to burn it. Thankfully, he didn't do a good job. In any case, when I found the map, I decided to investigate the lighthouse myself. That's where I found the military-grade binoculars.
And you're sure Freddy was in the lighthouse because?
By the binoculars, there was also an empty bottle of Freddy's favorite wine. I'm sure he spent the night there. Most likely, he was involved in some of the other incidents as well.
One thing's still not clear to me. If Freddy was being manipulated by the culprit, why was he murdered?
I believe Freddy found leverage against his blackmailer, and I think that ties directly in with your poisoning, Ruben.
Miss Page, why don't you explain how you reached this conclusion from the beginning?
Of course. After Ruben collapsed during our first dinner together, we started investigating what happened. Dr. Cat ran tests on Ruben that revealed a poison or venom of some kind in his system. At the time, we thought he'd been poisoned by the food or wine, but we ran further tests with Dr. Cat and found no traces of poison in them.
We hit a wall back then, without any further leads to investigate. Until
Until I had a delayed allergic reaction on my hand.
which, after analysis, led us to the conclusion that the poison got into your system through your skin.
And how does this relate to Freddy's murder?
To poison you.
A poison ring? Seems like something straight out of my books.
No fiction here, just facts. We found out about the ring thanks to another USB key the culprit left behind in Portia's laptop.
It just looks like an ordinary ring to me.
This button here opens the compartment where the poison was stored.
Can I have a look at it?
Of course. I believe Freddy got his hands on part of the ring and used it as leverage against our culprit, which, in the end, cost Freddy his life.
You said Freddy had a part of it, but what you showed us was a full ring. Was it not?
The other part, the sapphire, I found mixed in with the tablecloth in the dryer. I believe the murderer lost the sapphire while poisoning Ruben, and it went through the washing machine with the tablecloth. This led me to believe Ruben was poisoned during dinner.
Isn't it possible Reuben was poisoned earlier?
Unlikely. Some of the poison compounds we identified are very quick to take effect.
I had contact with everyone in the room during the dinner. Anyone could have sprayed it on me.
Doesn't that leave the possibility that Freddy could have plotted to poison Ruben and done the deed himself?
First of all, Freddy's dead. Even if he did do it, too many things don't add up. The security footage kept on the USB key, him carrying a part of the ring in his pocket. And I'm sure someone would have noticed Freddy wearing such a flashy ring during dinner.
So, your conclusion is that Freddy couldn't have poisoned Reuben.
That's right. All of the heinous acts from that point on were carried out by the person who killed Freddy. Their main objective from the start was to get information on Project Genetica. That's probably why the poison Ruben was sprayed with wasn't lethal. He was kept alive in case the culprit couldn't find any information on the project.
Yet Portia was the one who ended up paying the ultimate price.
Portia's death was a consequence of the culprit trying to get their hands on Genetica. I believe Portia caught the culprit off guard while they were hacking into her laptop